Your cry has been loud enough.
Yeah. Okay. The time is now 10 o'clock, colleagues. We will start with our meeting. Can I request that for those that can we stand up to observe a moment of silent prayer and meditation? Thank you. We may all be seated. Let me take the honor to greet our Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, leaders of political parties, our Chief Whip, members of the Provincial Legislature, ladies and gentlemen, the citizens of Gauteng and South Africa as a whole. We greet you this morning in the month where, as women, but also as South Africans, we observe the Breast Cancer Month, but at the same time, the Transport Month. We know that many of our people still struggle to commute between home to relatives, but also between home and their places of work. And I know that our government is looking into the matter, and I'm praying that those matters be resolved urgently. Let me welcome you in our sitting. Thank you very much for joining us. We have received the following apologies. We have an apology from Honorable Alberts, who can't be in a meeting today, Honorable Moriat, who's outside of the province, Honorable Bosch, who's writing exams today, and I'm aware that other members are also writing their exams, and we wish you all the best in your exams. Honorable Dos Santos, who will participate in the meeting. Those are the only approaches that we have received as an office, and thank you very much. We're now dealing with announcements. I know that I've received an indication that Honorable Shitangano, you want to do an announcement. Honorable Shitangano. So Honorable Shitangano has not joined the meeting as yet. Are there any other members who wants to do announcements?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
That's
Member Tagile.
Oh, I know that you want to do a member statement, Honorable Tagile, unless you also want to do an announcement.
Yes, I also want to make an announcement.
Okay.
Hey,
continue.
You're looking fresh. It shows it's like
show your
down
video,
from
then
home.
we can get the Premier and Honorable Msimang to switch off. Honorable Tagile, can you see your video and you can mute after that? Okay.
Can I proceed with the announcement?
Yes.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. We want to congratulate Comrade President Evo Morales for a decisive victory over the imperial forces in the recent elections in Bolivia. The victory of the movement towards socialism is a victory for the entire progressive forces and across the globe. We say long live the people of Bolivia. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Any other
Long
member?
live, long live, long
Yes,
live.
Member Azui.
Oh, so you've joined us. Okay. Honorable Shitangano.
Thank you, Speaker. The EFF this past Friday, on the 16th of October, held a very successful program in Senegal in defense of the democracy and the state assets against the racist terrorist Afrikaner group. Thank you.
Honorable Shitangano and all other members, please, can we respect the rule to say when you speak, unless you have a challenge, switch on your video. Then you mute your video when you are not speaking. Thank you very much. We're now moving over to member statements, starting with Honorable
Madam Speaker, I'm sorry, I raised my hand on a point of order.
Oh, okay.
Can Member Osby please withdraw his allegation of terrorism, please? That is a serious allegation, and it's uncalled for in this meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a difficult matter for me to rule on. But remember, when a member does a member statement, there's no issue of a point of order, unless there's an insult or a word that is not acceptable. Like, we have 7 cases. No, Honorable. Honorable Tilange, can you switch off? And I don't expect.
No, and those people are terrorists. I agree with Chitanga.
Honorable, please. Can you move to member statement, starting with Honorable Masimula?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The EFF has noted the complaint lodged against the CIC and the EFF.
Honorable Masimula, can you switch off your video?
I'm using my phone, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
The EFF has noted the complaint lodged against the CIC and the EFF by the Freedom Front Plus after our supporters were allegedly heard singing Kill the Boer in Senegal last week, Friday. We view this move by the FF Plus as a political stunt and a desperate move to try and become relevant. Like many other political parties, the FF Plus was quiet when white farmers stormed state building, destroyed property, and even torched a police vehicle. The FF Plus was quiet when our democracy and constitution became under threat from racist white farmers in Senegal. The FF Plus must be condemned for its opportunistic behavior of failing to talk against the white racists who attacked the state and undermined the rule of law. The police failed to protect state property. Not a single rubber bullet was fired. No stun grenades to disperse the violent, racist white farmers who stormed state building. Not a single person was arrested on that day. But if these were black people, we could have picked up dead bodies on that day. As the EFF, we say justice must prevail and 2 suspects must be allowed to face the full might of the law. Murder is murder. For the white racist farmers to demand the court to hand over the suspect to them was an act of terror, and view this in a very serious light. We still maintain our position that in South Africa, we do not have farm murders. What we have in this country is the murder of women and children. There are hundreds of women and children who are under siege in this country. This should be our concern. The murder of that white farm manager was an isolated incident, and we must allow the law to take its course against the suspected perpetrators. As the EFF, we are unapologetic to have descended in the small town of Senegal last week, Friday, in defense of our democracy and constitution. We applaud supporters of the Red Berets who heeded the call and painted Senegal red. The law enforcement agencies, especially the SAPS, failed to protect state property. We therefore went to Senegal to defend our constitution. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
Honorable
Yes. Right,
Honorable Tilange.
Nenga Makar.
Chair, Speaker, thank you very much. And on this note, I will commence. In a recent media release, the Minister of Kokta voiced a shock about the scandalous state of municipalities in Gauteng. Truth be told, this comes as no surprise. The Freedom Front Plus warned last year that we will not be the ones who turn our heads away from mismanagement at local level or provincial level. We warned portfolio committees that local government and provincial government must focus on consequence management and not let old habits and decisions to pave the way forward, as it is littered with corruption, mismanagement and failure. Gauteng is the economical hub of South Africa and requires extraordinary management and leadership. We are not getting it. Blame shifting are used for the inability and underperformance of the ANC. This failure to provide and guarantee the safety of its communities, to recognize and acknowledge diversity and provide quality education, healthcare, and local government is a violation of the South African Constitution. This also a violation of the mandate and obligation of the rest upon members of the executive authority of this province. Just over a week ago, the Office of and furniture items of the Freedom Front Plus at the Mfuleni offices were stolen by forced entry into our offices and false information written in the securities events register. We have numerous WhatsApp messages of the ANC staff that provides prima facie evidence that it was Mfuleni ANC leaders who gave the orders. One political party breaking an entry into and theft of an opposition party's office is yet again proof why Mfuleni is in the state it is, and the Minister will be informed of this matter, as neither Madam Speaker, yourself, the Premier or MEC Mahile bothered to address the situation. It's a clear indication of the way the ANC operates. Back to basics is not going to save this province. Only honesty, integrity and proper leadership will sometimes this province is sadly lacking. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Shackleton.
Madam Speaker, the Democratic Alliance is exceptionally disturbed by the growing trend of human trafficking occurring in the province. Reported cases of missing persons, particularly among our young people, have reached unprecedented levels, and it is worrying that law enforcement agencies seem inept at tackling this issue. The Gauteng provincial government, particularly the Department of Community Safety, must ensure that SAPs begin to use crime intelligence more effectively if we are to ensure the safety of the people of Gauteng. There should be a concerted effort to educate people, particularly the most vulnerable, our youth, as to how to deal with something as heinous as human trafficking. Information around the danger of human trafficking and exploitation should be taught in our schools, and efforts made to educate communities around the issue. Coupled with this, the Department of Social Development must assist NGOs and other non-profit entities that assist victims of human trafficking. We cannot allow this vile act of criminality to morph into an unstoppable force that threatens the safety and dignity of our people to go unchecked. This House must resolve to take the measures mentioned above and enforce them without fear or favor. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Ndlovana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In accordance with Rule 81, subsection 1, I, Honourable Alfina Ndlovana, table the following member statement on the R80 Mabopane Highway matter and motorist hijacking. Honourable members and Speaker, on the resolution of the ANC Lekgotla is to build safer communities where everyone needs to be protected and feel safe all the time without hardship of criminal elements. Madam Speaker, ANC-led government want to applaud the indelible hard work and commitment of the joint crime prevention operation, which led to the arrest of 5 foreign nationals in connection with the recent attack and murder that took place in the area of Magalies Mountain Range and the R80 Mabopane Highway. And an intelligence-driven operation on Wednesday, the 14th October, led police to the suspect hideouts in Marabastad, where 5 people intervention by the SAPS and the Tshwane Metro Police after Major General Hilda Mohajane had assured the victim and the public in general that police will heighten visibility and intensify crime prevention operation in the area policed by the Hercules and Acacia Police Station. Madam Speaker, we call upon the Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Elias Mawela, to declare Theo Martin Mabopane Highway to be a crime hotspot to alert the citizen across the
Switch off your video, Honorable Ndlovana, so that you're not disturbed. Honorable Ndlovana, switch off your video. Can you switch off your video, then you continue with your speech.
Okay, thanks, Madam Speaker. The ANC-led government condemned the criminal activities and through its tangible policy to exercise greater caution, not expose themselves to criminals who saw any vulnerable. The heightened visibility and the crime prevention operations in the area will
Thank you, Honorable Ndlovana. Can you now call on Honorable Tagile?
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yesterday marked the 35 years since the ultimate death of one of the greatest sons of Africa, Comrade Samora Machel. This is one of the leaders of the finest leader and a great revolutionary. He was also a Marxist-Leninist of his time. We can, without any doubt or fear of contradiction, confirm that he was one of the visionary leaders to have been produced by the liberation movement. He was an internationalist in words and deed. He was a scholar and a philosopher of note. Comrade Samora Machel understood that our struggle for liberation cannot and should never be divorced from the struggle of the emancipation of women and gender struggle. He clearly understood that our struggle for freedom will be incomplete without victory for women liberation. Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Samora Machel. Long live the spirit of Commander Machel. Long live Frelimo. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Long live Frelimo.
Honorable
That
Makubela.
liberation movement sell us. That liberation movement sell us.
Who allowed you to speak, Wena, man? We are disturbed. Honorable Makubela.
Thank you
very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm rising in terms of Rule 81.1. Madam Speaker, even though apartheid ended decades ago, racism and sexism still reared their ugly head in a democratic South Africa. As the African National Congress, we condemn in the strongest terms the victimization of Ms. Nkele Molapo by male chauvinists within the DA. The scourge of gender-based violence, Madam Speaker, which the President of the Republic, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, has declared as the second pandemic in our country, is a natural progression from sexism, has been declared a pandemic by the President, President Ramaphosa. Amidst all this, the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, the provincial legislative body, which should be at the forefront of preventing or fighting against the discrimination of all sorts, finds itself as a not so safe space for women, though it is in the hands of members of the Gauteng legislature. Well, we know that the case of sexual harassment has recently been reported by Ms. Nkele Molapo, then a DA member of the provincial legislature at GPL. Ms. Molapo was subsequently dismissed by the Democratic Alliance in an effort to prevent the Gauteng Provincial Legislature from taking action against the perpetrator, who is also an MPL. It is the responsibility of the members of the GPL to set a shining example for society that it is unacceptable to sexually harass women, yet the DA has taken it upon themselves to protect an individual that has been accused of such outrageous offenses. The ANC takes exception at the DA's attempt to protect their reputation at the expense of an innocent victim. It is the responsibility of all of us, Honorable Speaker, to protect women and children from the perpetrators of GBV. The ANC condemns the role played by the DA in victimizing a colleague who is looking to us for protection in no uncertain terms. The statement of the DA, which was released in the name of Honorable Moriarty, alludes to the facts that were put in. The ANC pledges their support for our dear colleague and all women in the province that are being victimized by those with political power and those who are in higher economic positions. And we will do everything in our power to demonstrate our support for her and all the other women in the province who have been victimized. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
We have done with member statement. We're now going to check if is there a member who wants to give motion without notice.
And what that means is that the client relationships, it means all the client relationships move with the people that leave CFC. We are the only guys with the client relationships, and we've already had a number of meetings and conversations with clients about their commitment to.
Honorable Makubela, can you switch off? Thank you. Is there a member who wants to give a motion without notice in terms of Rule 120? There is none. Thank you very much. Let's therefore deal with the first item on our agenda, which is the Premier's question time in terms of Rule 138, starting with Honorable Semanga to the Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and good morning to the Premier and fellow members of the Provincial Legislature and members of the public. Premier, in 2016, the Gauteng experienced severe weather conditions.
Honorable Speaker, are we allowed to listen to people who are abusing women? Honorable Speaker, are we allowed to listen to those
ANC are also women abusers.
Honorable Speaker, can our ears be abused by those who abuse women?
You can put earplugs in your ears.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, we can't allow
Speaker,
it.
the ANC must also be quiet.
We can't allow to listen to abusers of women. We can't.
Honorable Amanda, it's so disappointing that you are protecting.
Honorable,
very disappointing.
Honorable Makubela, can I respond?
Honorable Speaker, my rights as a private citizen in Gauteng cannot be infringed by people who abuse women. I can't be part of a sitting where women are abused and those who abuse women are then worshipped. We can't.
Can I rule on the matter? Can you?
Yeah, you feel free to leave, Makubela. Leave if you don't like it.
I will not leave. I will not leave, Honorable Fox. I will not leave this meeting. I will not be abused.
Go on.
Abused.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Abusers must not be protected.
Those with contracts, eh? But speak the loudest. Come PPE. How can we sit in the house with PPE crooks? PPE crook. How can we sit in the house with PPE crooks?
Order, please. Honorable Makubela, the process that you should take if you want this matter to be taken care of is to approach the Integrity Commissioner, but we can't actually suspend a member if there's no due process. So let's allow Honorable Simang to ask his question. Honorable Simang.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Premier, in 2016, Gauteng experienced severe weather conditions that destroyed numerous properties here in the province of Gauteng. That is both owned privately and also by the state. In the
Honorable
western and
Premier,
in the
please don't
areas of
respond to
Tshwane,
this question.
the structures containing
Honorable
asbestos were to
Premier,
be
please don't
repaired and
respond to
replaced.
this
Why are
question.
you the speaker? Keep quiet.
Madam Speaker, may I call order, please?
You don't have
Madam
to
Speaker.
because no, Honorable Ramulifo, I'm still there.
No, he's not listening to you. He is continue disrupting our members.
Let us not be abuse apologists.
But you think I'm not capable of dealing with this matter, Honorable Ramulifo?
Women are dying in our province, women, at the hands of men, unscrupulous men.
And as Gauteng, we should not be abuse apologists.
Women are abused in
Please don't enter that debate, because I said there should be a due process to deal with this matter. Please, can you allow the process to be dealt with accordingly? Continue, Honorable Msimang.
Thank you very much, ma'am. In the western and the areas of Tshwane, the structures containing asbestos were to be repaired and replaced. Considering this, could the Premier please indicate, one, was Blackhead Consulting appointed to oversee the work mentioned above? Two, if yes, how much were they paid for the work done in the restaurant in the western and in Tshwane in rands and cents? Three, were the projects were they appointed to oversee completed within time and within budget? And four, if not, what action did the GPG take against Blackhead Consulting for non-compliance? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Greetings to honorable members. Thank you for the question. Honorable Msimang, what I want to just restate is that I have said a few times in this house that I'm always willing to answer questions to honorable members, and I answer a lot of questions. But I said, Madam Speaker, that line function questions that are directed to me will not be answered by me. I've said that a few times. Honorable Msimang, your question, you know, is a line function question, and MEC Maile has answered that question in full, because he builds, is responsible for building houses in this province. So I will help you to get his full response. I am not going to answer a detailed question that has to do with a line function department. I can help you if you have difficulties, too many things to deal with, to forget that the MEC for Human Settlements in Gauteng is MEC Maile. I have his response to you. You will get that response today.
Run away.
Are you done, Premier?
Thank you.
Okay. Any supplementary question or comment, Honorable Msimang? And if I say supplementary question, it's not questions. It's one question and a short remark. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm looking forward to the responses wherever they will be coming from. I think this is a matter that is urgent and need an urgent response and attention from both the House and the municipalities affected. I will wait for the answer. Thank you very much.
Next question, Honorable Bloom, to the Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My apology, my camera doesn't work. To the Honourable Premier, regarding the resignation of Gauteng Health Chief Financial Officer Capella Lahuenya at the end of May 2020, will the Premier please indicate, one, on what date did he become aware of allegations or indications that irregular practices had been followed in the award of contracts for personal protective equipment, PPE? Two, on what date did he become aware that disciplinary action was likely or planned against Lahuenya in this matter? Three, did he agree with the statement that was issued by the Gauteng Health Department that Lahuenya had resigned for personal reasons? Four, if not, did he raise this with the MEC for Health, Bandile Masuku? And five, if this was not raised with MEC Masuku, why was this the case? Thank you.
Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me start by saying that on the 11th of August, I was asked a question without notice by Honorable Bloom about the resignation of the former CFO of Health, and I gave a comprehensive response in the House to that question. The 11th of August is not a long time ago. The point I want to emphasize is that all matters pertaining to PPE procurement and allegations of corruption are under investigation. And that investigation was born out of the work done by the Gauteng Audit Services, which was asked by the former MEC and the former HOD of Health to come and do an investigation after there were some complaints. Out of that investigation, a recommendation for a detailed forensic investigation was made to me, and I appointed the Special Investigation Unit based on a memorandum of understanding we signed with the SIU from 2017, where they are able to swiftly move into issues of corruption and investigate that. As it is public knowledge, honorable members and Madam Speaker, it's public knowledge that the SIU has been investigating all these issues. It is also the knowledge of this legislature that there are disciplinary processes that are underway and civil action that are underway and several legal cases that are underway. As I say, on the 11th of August, I gave a very detailed response to Honorable Bloom's question. Looking at the specific issues that Honorable Bloom is asking now, I want to emphasize.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Honorable Dwaba, can you switch off? Honorable Dwaba?
I want to emphasize, looking at the specific questions that Honorable Bloom is asking, I want to emphasize that there are investigations underway, there are disciplinary processes underway, and there are civil cases, several civil cases underway. There are questions that I am not going to ask because Honorable Bloom seems to be conducting his own separate investigation. And at this point, I'm saying that there are specific questions he keeps asking in this House that have a bearing on the current disciplinary processes. And I am advised that I will, from time to time, report to this legislature through its relevant committees. But I mustn't say things that may have a bearing on the current disciplinary processes and current SIU investigation, because the precise, detailed questions that Honorable Bloom is, the essence of what he needed to, he asked on the 11th, and the reply I gave to this House was dealt with, Honorable Speaker. And the risk of getting Honorable Bloom to conduct a parallel investigation or raise things that I respond to here in response to his replies that have a bearing on the current processes is very, very high. So I want to therefore say, Honorable Speaker, that on the rest of the detailed issues Honorable Bloom is asking, these issues must await the current investigations and disciplinary process or civil cases that are underway. I am not going to reply to these questions because they have a bearing on our cases that we are dealing with. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Any supplementary question, Honorable Bloom, or a short remark?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to point to the provincial government's own timeline official. On 28th of April, the PPE procurement audit was ordered. On the 25th of May, the Premier signed a letter requesting an SIU investigation. Now, on the 25th of May, the head of department issued a notice of precautionary suspension to the former CFO, and at that stage, she decided to resign. So that was known within the department. Surely the Premier knew that. I just want to ask the Premier very directly, because it's actually a political question. It's got nothing to do with the SIU investigation. If he knew that the former CEO was actually resigning not for personal reasons, why did he go along with an official statement of the Gauteng Department of Health? Gauteng Department of Health said that she was resigning for personal reasons only. Surely the Premier should have corrected that or been concerned about that. Was he not concerned that an untrue statement was issued by the Gauteng Health Department? And even worse than that, she didn't resign immediately. She actually gave 3 months' notice. Here was someone under investigation, and she was allowed to work for another 3 months. And of course, as we know, her resignation was ultimately refused, and she's now under investigation. But it's a very, very clear political question, nothing to do with the SIU. Why did he allow the Gauteng Health Department to publish an untrue statement that she was resigning purely for personal reasons? Thank you.
Honourable Premier.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. So it is quite clear what Honourable Bloom needed. It's not the dates that he needed, because he says he's got those dates. I want to emphasize, Honourable Speaker, that if you go to my response, and I had an opportunity to go through the response of the 11th of August in the sitting in this House, I made a comprehensive statement, including my attitude to what was said to be the resignation. Everything is in there. I made a comprehensive statement. I had also gone to brief the leaders of political parties about why it is important that they themselves must be cautious about being drawn into defending the CFO then. I've made a comprehensive statement about my attitude to officials who resign when they are facing disciplinary processes. I've made a comprehensive statement about that. The rest of what Honourable Bloom is dealing with, the disciplinary processes that are currently underway in the Department of Health, about dealing with issues that have to do with who was supposed to take what action, which action was supposed to be taken by which senior official, whether it's the accounting officer, in the course of these processes, and what is it that they didn't do. I do not want to go into detail. If your strategy, Honourable Bloom, is to draw me into the detail that will prejudice the disciplinary cases or the civil cases that we are following up on, at the moment, I am not going to be drawn into that. My interest as the Premier of Gauteng is not political gimmicks. Is to make sure that people are held accountable where certain things have gone wrong. Those who did
thank you.
So, Honourable Speaker, my point is that I'm not going to do or say things that are going to prejudice the disciplinary processes. If Honourable Bloom is not interested in the issues that the SIU is dealing with, I am interested in those issues. I'm also interested in the current disciplinary processes that are underway. It is the investigations of the SIU, but there are also disciplinary processes underway. And I want to continue to emphasize that the questions that Honourable Bloom is posing here will prejudice the disciplinary processes that are underway, unless if he is conducting his own parallel investigation, and I will not be able to help him on his own, unless this legislature is not conducting an investigation. For purposes of the people of Gauteng, they know I have been briefing the people of our province on a weekly basis on the work that is happening, where there was necessary to take certain actions. We have been able to do that. So he can't say these things in the name of political accountability. I have been fully accountable and reporting to the people of the province. But I'm not going to be drawn into questions and issues that are before disciplinary processes or before investigating authorities. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Can we now move to questions for oral reply to the executive in terms of 134, starting with Honorable Ramulifo to MEC for Infrastructure Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Regarding Noktula Elsen School, will the MEC please indicate how much budget in rands and cents is set aside to fix the defects like the swimming pool and other defects? Are there any consequences for the contractors who fail to follow the required specifications according to the plan? Please list those. Are there any consequences for officials who were managing this failed project? Please also list them. What will be the total spend in rands and cents for building this school upon completion of the project? And when will the school be fully occupied and all school facilities completed for use? Thank you.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to Honorable Ramulifo, thank you for the questions. The responses are as follows. With regard to the budget that is set aside for all defects, the response is as follows. The estimated costs is 2.5 million rand to resolve all defects at the school. Question 2, around the consequences for the contractors who failed to follow the required specifications according to the plan. The response is as follows. There are aspects of the defects that required further verification to ascertain contractual responsibility between the contractor and the professional service providers. The department has assigned the legal unit to look into the matter, as well as our internal professionals to verify who is contractually responsible, whether it is the contractor or the professional service provider. The legal unit is looking into the matter, and upon conclusion, a legally guided action will be pursued. With regards to the question of whether there are consequences for officials who are managing the failed project, the response is as follows. Defects are normal in any project, including construction projects, and that's why the contracts that the department makes use of provides for mitigating factors around defects. All standards of the construction contracts, and those are the JBCC, the NEC, the FIDIC, and the GCC, do provide those contractual remedies for dealing with the contracts in relation to this school and other projects that the department implements. We also use any one of these contracts. The defects on the project do not warrant a charging of the officials, but provide contractual remedies against either the professional service provider or the contractor, depending on who is at fault. On the question around what will be the total spend in rands and cents for building the school upon completion, the response is as follows. The total spend will be determined at the project close-out stage. The project we have not yet closed the project. When will the school be fully occupied and all school facilities completed for use? Currently, there are no restrictions on the temporary occupation certificate. The school is permitted to use all the school facilities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Ramulifo, do you have any supplementary question or short?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Maybe just to establish what will be the time frame of all the processes you have outlined, like your legal unit, your internal unit, and the estimate budget of 2.5 million. Is it budgeted currently, or is something which we need to look for the next financial years? Just to give us guidance of by when will these things probably be done. The last aspect too, Madam Speaker,
there's no last, only one question and short remark.
No, it's last, I mean.
Let's allow the MEC to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to indicate that the amount required is within the contractual amount and it is not additional. The work is currently underway both running concurrently, that is resolving the defects as well as the legal process. Because the legal process has got many dependencies, there is no definite date that I can give the legislature as to when the legal process will be concluded. However, it is concurrently underway. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Bloom to MEC for Health. Honorable Bloom.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the MEC for Health, regarding the Nasrec Field Hospital, will the MEC please indicate, 1, how many patients have been treated at this facility from 1 September 2020 to date? 2, what is the justification for keeping this hospital open until the end of January next year, as per the lease agreement with the Johannesburg Expo Centre? 3, how much in rands and cents has been spent on this lease agreement to date? 4, why has this lease agreement not been cancelled or early termination given? And 5, how much in rands and cents has to be paid to the Johannesburg Expo Centre in terms of this contract, even if it was cancelled or early termination was given? Thank you.
Honorable MEC. MEC Mamabula.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Good morning to honorable members, Premier members of the Executive, and the Chief Whip. The reply to the question, and I'm not using the camera because to improve the quality of the sound. The reply to the question by the honorable member is as follows. The total number of patients that has been admitted, and of course, for the period of 1st September 2022 currently, is actually consistent with the trends with respect to the overall state of COVID-19 admissions and of course infections in the province. And as you know, we are on a steep decline. The number therefore for September is 21 admissions and October is 5 admissions. Question number 2, which I think also goes for question number 4, I can answer them together, is that the reason the Gauteng province, through its, including of course with the, let me put it this way, the reason the Gauteng province and working with the National Department of Health was to place it in a best position possible to respond to healthcare needs in the event infection rates reach the projected peak, which of course, as we all know, were adopted by both the province and the national model figures. And secondly, that although the projected peak was not realized by the end of September 2020, the threat of the second wave of infection still remains with us in the province nationally. And of course, we continue to receive caution, including from WHO, that we should not lower our guard. And thirdly, that it is for this reason that the province is cautious on its decisions to start reducing the number of beds outside hospital environments without consideration of underlying threats of a second wave, which is evidently being realized in other countries. It is for this reason that the January 2021 remains a key milestone as a date after the festive season. And it is only at that point that we'll be able to make an appropriate determination with respect to whether to mobilize or not to mobilize, and if so, to what extent. So as a matter of emphasis, honorable members,
we as the provincial government have not reached a point where we should demobilize in the manner that being suggested in this question, and that's why we are continuing with the arrangements we have on Nazareth. Now, the third question is how much in rents and cents has been spent. As by the end of August 2020, the department has raised the following accumulative expenditure. For a 500 beds isolation and quarantine facility, were 58 million, and for 1,000 beds P3 facility, 69 million. The question 4, I've answered it. And 5, how much in rents and cents is to be paid to Joburg Expo? The reply is the department is projecting to spend less than that which has been projected initially, which was about 345 million, based on full occupation of all beds procured. Now, should the beds occupation numbers remain consistent with the current rate, our projections for both facilities, and that is combined costs, is at the region of between 157 million and 255 million for all costs inclusive of assets to be recovered. Thank you very much.
Any supplementary questions? Honorable Bloom.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Might I just ask the Honourable MEC, are we actually paying for empty beds? Because we've got 1,000 beds and at no stage were they ever remotely full. And now we have a figure of only 26 patients admitted since the 1st of September. Obviously, it could get worse, but we have spare capacity in our public hospitals. We could also have an arrangement with private hospitals. And here we're keeping this facility open right up to the end of January next year. But to be very specific, are we actually paying for 1,000 empty beds? What is our actual arrangement with this facility? Because if we're paying for, surely we should be paying for patients rather than beds. So if you clarify that issue, are we paying for patients actually there or for empty beds on the basis that we might need them? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and members. The reply is that I think that in the question I've clarified that we are maintaining this facility as part of our plans to make sure that at all times we have sufficient capacity to deal with any potential increase or rise in the rates of infections as part of what we project as a possible second wave of infections. Obviously, based on the data, the information, and the work we do on a daily basis, this is a matter that we'll continue to review, to look at, and appropriate decisions will be made on the matter. But when you pay for capacity in anticipation of a rise in increases, it means there are no patients there. I think it's just as simple as that. So the question is both premature and unnecessary, to say the least, in the sense that it's a clear case of capacity to manage potential spike. You can imagine if there was to be an increase and we don't have capacity, we will be blamed for that. That didn't they know that there was a increase or surge coming? Actually, this is what we have been condemned before by people like Jack Bloom, who in the early stages, they were saying, Gauteng will not be ready to deal with a potential increase. They don't have a capacity, they have not prepared and all that. Now we have got capacity, we are ready to deal with any situation. We want to create an impression that this is a waste of money. You can imagine if we don't have this infrastructure. So, but the point I'm making, honorable members, is that these are matters we are seized with. They are under our purview. We are dealing with them based on facts and everyday assessment, and we can make appropriate decisions based on information and facts at our disposal. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, MEC. The next question, Honorable Msimang, to MEC for COGTA and Human Settlement.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. To MEC for Cockton Tatemaile. With regards to the temporary homeless shelters and catering program in Tshwane in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, could the MEC please indicate, one, how many invoices of the above services were deemed to have been at an inflated price? Two, how many inflated invoices were paid? Please indicate the amount in rands and cents. Three, what action is being taken against the companies implicated? Four, were any of the beneficiaries of the number 3 above part of the current team of administrators appointed to manage the city? And 6, if yes, please provide their names and the companies they belong to. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mr. Maile.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will start with that question, which has administrators. I don't have it on record, but we can put on record that there is no administrator that is involved at all, because in fact the procurement process started just when they are about to assume their responsibilities. So they did not even know, not even a single corner of Tshwane. So none of them, that we can tell you without any fear of contradiction. The next question is that the investigation is not concluded, but it is underway, and a determination of the final number of suppliers with inflated prices will be made at the end of the investigation, and we'll provide that to the honorable member. And none of the suppliers have been paid according to the information at our disposal, and no one will be paid until the investigation is complete. The matter has been handed over to the Special Investigation Unit already. The determination has not been made yet as to, as the matter is still under administration, whether, yeah, so there's no determination there. And on the last, it's the answer, it's if yes, please provide their names and all that. It's not applicable, as I have stated, that the investigation is still underway. Thank you.
Any supplementary question, Ms. Mang?
Yes, ma'am. MEC, I put it to you that the people that have been giving you information had actually misled you. Invoices had been paid. All we wanted to know is how many of those invoices had been paid. I would urge that you possibly then ask for a comprehensive report relating to that, because invoices had been paid. And I will provide you with a copy of, what of the documents that had been made.
Madam Speaker, can I call for order, please?
If you call for order, you must state the rule. Under which rule?
Yeah, the electronic rule book is giving me problem, but I'm about to vomit, madam.
Honorable, Honorable, don't take
No.
If you don't have a rule book, please
Look
let's
at
allow
gender-based violence and listen, you are making it difficult for us.
Honorable,
What's the rule? What is the rule?
Let's allow Honorable Simang to continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I was saying to the Honorable MEC, I will provide you with a copy of some of the people that might be involved in this particular issue. But just to let you know that invoices had actually been paid. All we wanted to know was how many of those invoices are still outstanding and how many had actually been paid. And we wanted to do a comparison, but this is information that I think the office hasn't been quite honest with you. Thank you very much.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. So the member has the information. I don't know why he had to waste my time and ask me about something that he has. The answer I've given, is an answer that comes from the municipality. When you answer a question, because I'm not a magician, I don't manufacture answers. I ask for answers from the relevant municipality. So we were given that information by the administration in Tshwane, and if the information given to us is misleading and it's inaccurate, we will certainly act against that. But I think it would have helped the member to provide information who is paid, and if there's people who are fraudulently paid, we need to deal with that and stop playing black mamba dealer, because we have serious problems of service delivery to deal with, and stop wasting our time. Thank you, Speaker.
Next question was supposed to be done by Honorable Moriarty. I'm not yet advised as to who will stand for him.
Thanks very much, Madam Speaker. It's Member Ghana.
Okay, Honorable Ghana.
All right.
Yeah,
MEC L.I. Maile. With regard to the status of the Provincial Rates Valuation Appeals Board, will the MEC please indicate how many appeals from the 2018 property valuation process from the City of Johannesburg remain outstanding? 2, what are the reasons for these unreasonable delays? 3, whether appeals are currently being processed. If not, then provide reasons for that. And then finally, what is the scheduled date for the completion of all outstanding appeals? Thanks very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Ghana. On behalf of Honorable Moriarty, I was waiting for him. You know, that one likes complaining and moaning. I was looking forward to answering him. But anyway, the first answer is that there are 16,604 reviews and 6,290 appeals outstanding, and that is as of 30 September 2020 in relation to the City of Johannesburg 2018 General Valuation Roll. So it's the City of Johannesburg. No? Number 2, the reason for delays in the finalization of the 2018 appeals is that the City of Johannesburg is still addressing a backlog relating to a high number of reviews, which is about 44,850, and appeals 8,459 emanating from 2013 General Valuation Roll. Number 3, the appeals are being considered by the City of Johannesburg's Valuation Appeals Board in terms of Section 54 of the Act. Number 4, it says if not, and why not, it's not applicable. Number 5, the city anticipates finalizing the reviews and appeals relating to the General Valuation Roll implemented on 1 July 2013 by end of December 2022, and by end of December 2023 to finalize outstanding appeals related to the General Valuation Roll implemented on 01 July 2018. The anticipated dates assume that each board completes at least 50 properties per day for reviews and 25 appeals per day, and that they sit at least 10 days per month based on average actual sittings per month. The city had proposed to each board to sit at least 15 days per month to alleviate the appeals and reviews backlog. If the boards were able to meet this, then the GV 2013 could be completed by end of December 2021, and the roll for 2018 by 2022. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
While Honorable Ghana, you present your members your short comment or short question, I will hand over to the
Thanks very much, Madam Speaker. I wanted to check, Honorable Maile. So in your response, you stipulate that it generally takes 8 years to deal with a backlog. And as you and I know that the evaluation is done generally every 5 years or so. So this backlog at this rate, it means it will never be a thing of the past. So we'll continue to have this backlog, because as things stand now, 7 years later, the 2013 backlogs are still, the appeals are still outstanding as you have responded. So in your interaction with the city of Johannesburg, what advice have you given to the city of Johannesburg to speed up this particular process to ensure that they can get into the 2018 appeals, and so that by the time that we do the 2023 general valuation, then there's no backlog, because at this particular rate, the 2018 backlogs will not be concluded by the end of 2023. Thanks very much.
According to Rule 1347, I open up for additional supplementary questions or additional remarks. There is none. Honorable MEC, please respond.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I think context is also important, because I think Honorable Ghana should not be disingenuous. You know what happened in Johannesburg, and I don't want to dwell into that. What we need to do is to say, how do we move fast? And in the answer I've given you, there are practical suggestions, one of which is that the board must increase the number of its sittings. And you know what that means as well. It has financial implications. Next time you're going to waste my time and ask me, why are we paying them a lot of money, this and that and all that. So the city is doing its best to resolve the issues. We are working with them and will continue to support them. And we are satisfied with the work that they're doing. We will want to make sure that they stick to the targets that they've put. And once we perfect that, we can be able to see how because we don't run municipalities the way you want us to do it when it's convenient. We provide oversight, we support, do coordination, which is what we are doing. So don't be don't be disingenuous and be dishonest to yourself and be a fanatic of the opposition's ideas that are wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MEC.
Thank you for your precious time.
Moving right along to the third item, I'd like to call Honorable Mabunda to read the urgent question to the Premier.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Premier, fellow members of the GPL, members of the public. Honorable Premier, noting that His Excellency Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa has recently announced the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan to address the economic deficiencies as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Can the Premier explain the following? One, in response to the Economic Recovery Plan, what are the big specific projects in Gauteng that call for an increase in economic infrastructure and industrialization? Secondly, what is the plan to ensure that there is upstream and downstream linkages on industrialization to support the growth of Black SMEs, particularly township economic enterprises, in line with the strategic objectives of the Growing Gauteng Together provincial blueprint? Thirdly, how will GPG use the agricultural sector to address the food security and increase levels of poverty due to the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, from the 800,000 job creation outlined in the recovery plan, what is the projected job opportunities to be generated in the province of Gauteng? Thanks, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Thank you to Honorable Mabunda for the question. I would like to say that, Deputy Speaker, having said what I said earlier on, where there are members who would want me to be busy with departmental issues that can be handled by the MECs, I wish Honorable Mabunda's question was the first. It's only my wish, Deputy Speaker. I wish it was the first, because this is not a departmental question. What he is asking about what Gauteng's response is to the economic reconstruction and recovery plan announced by the president is what this legislature should be occupying itself about. I think we have come out of a difficult situation in the last 6 months. It's now 7 months dealing with COVID. The impact on livelihoods and on the economy has been huge. The impact on service delivery has been huge. It is the wish of the Gauteng provincial government that as we manage the potential threat of a new surge or a second wave, as we manage that, as we have done, and the lessons we have drawn from that, the principal focus of the provincial government and the municipalities must be on how to reignite growth and development, reconstruction and transformation of our economy. That should be the principal focus of the Gauteng provincial government, and therefore also saying that it should be the principal focus of our legislature. And I'm basically decrying the fact that members think, there are members who think the Premier's question time must be used by asking questions that should be asked to the MECs. I am very pleased that the MEC for Economic Development and the MECs involved in our infrastructure in our province and the MEC for Finance, collectively they belong to the economic cluster. Those MECs have been working with the teams from municipalities to look at Gauteng government's response to COVID, the post-COVID response, and the response as well to the plan that the president has tabled. So having said that, and said that Honorable Mabunda's urgent question should have perhaps come earlier. Honorable Mabunda, thank you very much. Your question is very detailed as you have asked it. If in my response I might not be as detailed, or some of the chronological order varies with yours, it's because it is an urgent question. It's because you're asking me now. But let me first say, Honorable Mabunda, that tomorrow I'm participating in the debate in the National Assembly. And that debate is on the plan, on the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. That's the National Assembly. So it's the joint houses are discussing this. So I have the honor to represent our province there tomorrow. So your question kind of preempts also some of the things I'm going to say there. So the first important thing to say is that the economic reconstruction and recovery plan that the president outlined has got, it rests on several pillars, and it links very well with the GGT 2030, the economic section of our plan to grow Gauteng together. So one of the first emphasis of the economic reconstruction and recovery plan tabled by the president is infrastructure development and investment in infrastructure from the point of view of the role of the public sector and also in bringing in private sector players in this investment drive. So our province, so within the framework of that pillar of infrastructure investment, our province has a budget, as we have announced, over the next 5 years, infrastructure budget of more than 50 billion rands. And we are targeting on driving infrastructure in the way that unlocks the various corridors of our province, what is now called the districts in line with the district development model, but in the Gauteng sense, we have called them the 5 corridors. So ensuring that every single investment in infrastructure, whether it's about water, or it's about electricity, or it's about a road, or it's about building houses there in a particular area, that must always be linked to economic, catalyzing a particular economic node in that area. And so infrastructure investment is going to be a key area that's going to drive that. And as I say, we want to use existing budgets that we have for road infrastructure, that we have to contribute for public transport infrastructure, for economic infrastructure, to contribute to jacking up the various corridors' own economic potential. So that national plan that focuses on various areas of infrastructure, Gauteng's already there. So our specific projects in infrastructure would include public transport infrastructure, water and sanitation infrastructure, human settlements as a key area of investment, but also the logistics. The logistics corridor, we are an important economic hub of South Africa. The logistics corridor between us and KwaZulu-Natal is a critical corridor for the movement of goods and services for both import and export. But we're also looking at the logistics corridor between Gauteng and the Eastern Cape, right up to Nelson Mandela Bay. That's another logistics corridor that we want to revitalize. In this particular case, we are working with SOEs like Transnet on those areas, and rail is a very critical area. So infrastructure investment is not just investment everywhere, but it is directed to the nodes that are critical for us, and in our case, to the areas where we want every corridor to at least have one special economic zone. We already, Honorable Makubela, in the last sitting, asked me comprehensive questions, which I responded to around the special economic zone. So we are already doing significant progress in Tshwane. In the Val, we are moving beyond just the feasibility now. We are really bringing in other players like the DBSA, because the municipalities there don't have money for bulk. We want to do that in the West Rand as well for the agro-processing zone. Part of the question of Honorable Mabunda is about the potential of agriculture, food security, and agro-processing. For the West Rand, that is the critical thing, about turning that whole West Rand into a food security and agro-processing zone in that regard. So the national plan also talks about energy security. Here in Gauteng, we are now working with the municipalities to establish the Gauteng Energy Office, particularly renewable energy, microgrids initiatives, so that even the new developments, whether it's human settlements development, or it's a special economic zone, or it's a new node, or it's a new city, in those areas, we don't want to just rely on Eskom supply. We want, and this is what the national plan says about opening their opportunities in those areas for investment in energy as part of energy security. The president also spoke extensively about public employment schemes. We have learned from our previous EPWP and CWP programs, but we have also championed new initiatives to bring in young people, such as what we have done in education, during coronavirus by bringing in young people to help us with the prevention measures in our schools. It can be a very, very big program. The president spoke about that on schools, but here in Gauteng, we have done the experiment already. We're not just talking about theory. Public employment schemes are important. They have a potential, but in Gauteng, we're not just talking about public employment schemes. We're talking about the major economy. We're talking about every sector of the economy. We have identified the critical and priority sectors of this economy. I know some of the criticism that other people labeled against the plan that the president presented. They were saying that, no, it only talks about public employment schemes. Here in Gauteng, we are talking about the digital economy. We are talking about advanced manufacturing. We are talking about agro-processing. We are talking about the creative industries. We are talking about business services, that's global traded business services. We're talking about the constructions and infrastructure space, which often creates lots of jobs as well. We're talking about, in that process, Honorable Mabunda, in that we're talking about the township economy. So we have identified sectors, and when I speak tomorrow in the debate in the NA, I'm going to present. So what your question gives me an opportunity to share with the House some of this work that we are ready to take forward the plan, and all the areas that were identified in that national plan here in Gauteng were already advanced. Remember that localization and reindustrialization has always been the pillar of everything we have done in Gauteng. And in that context, transformation and modernization have always been central. So everything we do, Honorable Mabunda, you asked the question about opportunities for forward and backward linkages, upstream and downstream, for Black entrepreneurs and the township businesses. Everything we do, in all the things that I'm saying, in every sector, everything we do, there must be the transformation element of that. Every new node, every special economic zone, every infrastructure project must answer the question of transformation as well. It must answer the question of reindustrialization. It must answer the question of innovation and modernization. It must answer the question about where will young people come in? Where will women come in? And then Black businesses, medium-sized enterprises, and those, especially in the construction phase, that have gone up. How do we ensure that they participate if we are doing any build environment, any build for economic as well as for social infrastructure? We want to answer that question. It is also for that reason, Honorable Mabunda, that the National Assembly has taken very keen interest in our draft bill on the township economic development, or the TER, the Township Economic Revitalization or Township Economic Development Bill. So the point I want to emphasize, Madam Deputy Chair, is that, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that everything we do in our province in line with that national plan is already calibrated by the plan. I know that the governing party itself has spent a lot of time looking at how do we revitalize this economy beyond COVID. I know that the various departments in our province and the municipalities have been looking at it. So there is a new growth path for the township economy. The township economy cannot be where it was for the last century under apartheid regulation. And that new growth path for us is something we don't apologize about. I've listened to people who say that we must apologize, that we want to affirm South African citizens who are running businesses in our townships. We will not apologize for affirming citizens who are running businesses in our townships to say that they must be supported to say that certain sectors of the economy, like many economies do. Now, I listen to people like Honorable Ghana, you know, this liberal influence, the liberal spirit has taken over him, joining those who are criticizing us. When we say we must affirm citizens, they say that is xenophobia. What a stupid idea this is. And every country that has to is at the stage of development of where we are. You can only develop at the back of the resources of your people, the initiatives, their strength, their own innovation, their own entrepreneurship. So going to the townships to say the townships must, you can't, there is no country in the world worth its name that brings every foreign company or foreign individuals in every sector of their economy. It doesn't exist. Go to Israel, Honorable Ghana. You often, you know, those who often criticize the ANC stance on Palestine often do so. Go to Israel. There are sectors of the economy in Israel that only, I don't want to talk about other parts of our continent. Go to India. There are sectors, including in the food sector, including certain sectors of the economy that any conscientious government will say, in these sectors, strategic security sectors, food-related sectors, and other sectors that every conscientious government will say, in these sectors of the economy, we want to affirm. And that's not, that positive, if you are saying it's discrimination, it's positive, it's like appointing a woman ahead of a man. It's affirmative, it's affirming local citizens. And to affirm local citizens is not something we are going to apologize for. Even those who want to say this is xenophobia, this is the right time. We are not chasing away people who are foreign nationals. We are not chasing them away. We know there are foreign nationals who are economic migrants. We know there are foreign nationals who are refugees. They have to live, find space to live amongst us because we ourselves were once refugees, were once in other countries. Any civilized country, any conscientious country will have a space for that, but we don't want illegal migrants. Any country that does not worry about who comes into its own, come through its own borders, and what comes through its own borders is not worth its name. And for that reason, even on the economy, we've got to ensure that we focus our economy critically, and various sectors of our economy. We identify in which sectors do we want to promote and affirm South African women and young people, South African Black businesses, and also say to South Africans across the board, we want to re-industrialize Black and white South Africans, local as lekker. Let's manufacture local goods. Let's get the state to support manufacturing and re-industrialization. In there, we need all South Africans, and in there, the fact that we want to boost local production, manufacturing sector, goods and services locally by South African industries. It's already positive discrimination. We are already saying, by saying localization, and somebody may mistakenly cry xenophobia. Otherwise, if that is xenophobic, you are really doing an injustice to something that is a hate crime, because xenophobia is a hate crime. This Township Economy Development Act, where we say that certain sectors of our economy must be privileged and prioritized for local township residents, is not about hate crime. And promoting the township economy through financing, through changing all the regulations that don't make sense, that have been stunting development, creating infrastructure, enabling access to markets, is part of our response, Honorable Mabunda, to this great clarion call made by our president. It doesn't mean that the economic recovery and reconstruction plan is perfect. That has been announced by the president. And I must tell you that there are many areas of improvement, including on the macroeconomic side. I'm one of those who think that the development finance institutions, including our own Reserve Bank, can play a much more critical role. But we have to do so by pointing in Gauteng how we can do this, how in Gauteng we can marshal all the agencies, or our development agencies, our agencies in the provincial government, across all the departments, from the Film Commission in the creative industry space, to the GGDA in the economic development space, to the tourism side, including using tourism also offers us great opportunities. The green economy offers us great opportunities. And in that process, we promote equality, we promote transformation, but we also promote uplifting the living standards and the opportunities of Black people, young people, women, people with disability. For that, we cannot apologize. That's what our transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization agenda is. For promoting and supporting local citizens in our townships ahead of any other business. To do that, we cannot apologize, because we have to do this to turn this economy around and build a new economy. So in that sense, Honorable Mabunda, I think, as I said, your question was, it's a very loaded question, but that's principally what we should be focusing about. For the last few months, I have been hearing when we do briefings on coronavirus, the major questions are now about what are you going to do on the economy? What are you going to do about the distribution of land? And that includes, this is a program that with MEC Maile, we're going out in the month of November. Part of that is the rapid land release. So all our programs, our major programs, are being rolled out. We can't apologize for that. We will do that simultaneously with managing the risk of resurgence. But for people who come to this legislature and think that the Premier's question time is about being asked questions that have to do with minute departmental detail there, I think they are missing the pulse of what the people of our province want to know. The people of this province want to know, yes, deal with corruption, sort out the problems that happened in health, manage the threat of coronavirus spreading again, but focus on reviving various sectors of the province economy so that people can have real, meaningful livelihoods. And this can be for the benefit of the few. And the township economy principally is for the people who are living in our townships. We cannot revitalize the township economy for it to be taken over by big supermarkets, for it to be taken over by many, many businesses of foreign nationals who, yes, those who are legally in our country, yes, they have a role to play, they have a space, but we are focusing on supporting the revival of the township economy so that those entrepreneurs in the townships who are currently dependent heavily on government grants, they must get onto their 2 feet and go back to an era where they will be able to generate incomes for themselves. That's what our approach to the reconstruction and recovery plan is as Gauteng province, and we don't apologize for that. Transformation must take place. We don't apologize for that. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Honorable Mabunda, would you like to make a short remark or ask a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well said, Premier. Mintoro Yabola, thank you very much. There's very little to say. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thanks to you too, Honorable Ghana. I call up a member who would like to make a short remark, ask a supplementary question. Honorable Ghana.
Thanks very much, Deputy Speaker, and I use Rule 138, subsection 8 for a short remark to the Honorable Premier. Honorable Premier, we all want to see our people making a living, providing for themselves, and not overly dependent on government. I think for too long we have sold a pipe dream that the government can do everything, and it's important that we help our people to do such. I have said, and I'll continue to say this, that your draft bill that you have put forward, it's ill-conceived, it's unconstitutional, and because even in your response, you accept that the people who are in the country legally, they are covered by the provisions of the Constitution and the provisions of the Immigration and Refugee Acts in this country. Therefore, no act cannot be covered by a draft bill. No act at the provincial level will supersede the Immigration Act or the Constitution. So, in your own statement, Premier, you say we must encourage our people to generate their own income so that they are not dependent on government. So, if Mrs. Mazibuko that stays in Zola, who's got a big yard, and decides to build a two-room to rent it out to a person who wants to start a business in order for her to generate an income, is it wrong in the eyes of the provincial government that Mrs. Mazibuko in Zola is able to use her property to be able to raise some income and not always be queuing at the post office, queuing for the 350 rand that the social grant that the government is providing? Because when you only speak on behalf of
Member Ghana, irrelevant
people who, you see, the thing is, if you don't listen, you will see that it will not become law. But the point I'm making, Premier, is that for us to revitalize the township economy, we need to be all inclusive and not try to segregate people based on nationality. Because this bill, as it currently stands, it's segregating people based on nationality. So we are basically saying, let Mrs. Mazibuko stay in Zola, and everyone else who comes into South Africa must trade in the Johannesburg CBD, must trade in Germiston CBD, Alberton and Carltonville. And that's what's wrong with this particular bill. And we'll continue to oppose it until it's corrected. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Honorable Nel. Honorable Premier, you can respond.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I also rise on 138.8. Apologies, my camera does not work. Just the Premier made the statement, especially when he spoke about in his response, that he used the words, we are already there in terms of the projects that the President has announced in the province. But it is not true, because of those roads projects that the President were talking about is actually not provided for in our MTREF. So I'm not sure where the money is going to come from, but it's definitely not coming from roads and transport. Thank you.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity. Let me start with Honorable Nell's question. Honorable Nell, I'm glad that you're actually following both what the plan says, the national plan, the economic reconstruction and recovery plan says, and that you are keen that we must be there. You are not opposed to me saying that Gauteng must be in the lead in making this plan a reality, including in stretching it. I want to emphasize in stretching it where the plan is a little bit conservative in what needs to be done. We must proudly say we want to stretch its radical parameters. We want to broaden the horizon of this plan about its potential to truly transform our economy and grow it in a way that is equitable, that brings prosperity to all, including in the area of what I would call the urban agriculture, urban food production, which is a huge potential that we have as a province. So you are saying that when you looked at the projects that were announced, but they are not in our roads plan. I met last week to take you into confidence, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last week I met with MEC Mamavulo and his entire team that they have now put in place what is called the infrastructure house, that is as the public transport department, public transport infrastructure house, with a lot of technical capacity, largely which is at the Gauteng Management Authority linked to the Gautrain. They presented a comprehensive plan, including re-looking at the budget. This is something we are doing with all the departments. We are doing this in preparation for the rollout of our plans now that we are in a better space with regard to the infection rate. We are doing that. What we are doing with the Department of Roads and Transport, we have had an engagement with all the related departments. Others, we are still going to do that. So one of the things that the team from public transport presented to me are all the infrastructure projects that we have for the next decade. Part of Gauteng growing Gauteng together. The roads, some of them, these projects you may not know about. I don't blame you. You are in the portfolio committee. You can only see those things that government has finalized, brought to you. In the discussion with the MEC Mamavulo and his management team, including this infrastructure house, that's the public transport infrastructure house team. We have been looking at every single road project. How is it going to impact on a particular community, the social impact and the economic impact? Thirdly, how is this road project linked to our big plans? What are those big plans? The human settlements in the area, in those areas, the logistics hub in our province, the special economic zones in our province, the new cities in our province, and how this road program talks to the national plan as well as the provincial plan. So I want to say to you, Honorable Nell, all the infrastructure, the road program of the Department of Public Transport and Roads are being reviewed. All of them are being reviewed. The money is being reprioritized in line with what the MEC for Finance will be saying when we deal with the budget issues. So you may have not seen some of the roads there, but I want to say the big problem in transport has not been about money. It has been about delivery, the rate of delivery of those roads, and the impact of that on changing the spatial economy of Gauteng, opening new opportunities, linking our townships that are in the periphery to the economic centers of our province. That's what our road infrastructure program is about. So that you have not seen it yet. Our full 10-year program, you will see it when that time comes. But I'm very happy with the re-engineering that MEC Mamavulo has been doing in there. In that department, even our human settlements program, we are re-looking at those, all those programs we used to call mega projects. We are linking that with the release of land. All of them must talk to the same. So MEC Maile has been doing the same on the infrastructure side. MEC Mutara has been doing the same on the infrastructure side, and the MEC for Economic Development, MEC Musupi, with regard to particularly economic infrastructure to catalyze this SEZ. Let me conclude, Honorable Deputy Speaker, by saying that, you know, when you lower your thought process, your thinking process to the level that Honorable Ghana is he has absorbed neoliberalism too much. He can't think out of the box of what is it you need to do. That's why he's talking about Mrs. Mazibuko renting a property to her property to someone who may want to be doing a spaza shop. You do not understand, Honorable Ghana. Just admit you don't understand what has happened in the township economy or in the economies of our townships in the last 20 years. You pretend you do because you are political party people must always pretend that they know. We have done comprehensive, this government of the ANC has done comprehensive studies, including working with universities here in our province to understand one thing. Why did so many spaza shops in the townships and many township people who used to run businesses, why have they got out of those businesses? You have to understand that it's not common sense. It's not common neoliberal sense. You won't get that in a DA Congress. You have to be absolutely committed to understand that certain things have happened to disrupt the township economy and survival as well as growth of enterprises in the townships. Part of that is that the new government did not make clear policy and structural interventions in the townships. The new government focused on housing and other infrastructure, service delivery in the townships, and forgot about the big things that there are entrepreneurs in the townships, people who are in the townships who want to do business there, not small business only, big business. So we accept that as the ANC. We didn't do as much. And the second thing is that the big corporates, especially the retailers, they cannibalized the township market. The big retailers got into the townships and in a big way disrupted township, especially the township retail space was fundamentally disrupted. The third thing, this is science, this is social science, by the way, it's not common sense. The third thing is that a lot of foreign nationals who have come into our country, a lot of those got into the townships, and I want to say to you, there are those who have documentation, who are in our country properly. They must live amongst our people and live with our people. But there are also those who we know in this country that illegal migrants is a big problem. It's not an imagination of the ANCs. It's not in our heads. It's a practical, because our borders are porous. And it causes major problems. There's no country that will allow that. That's why the border agency, management agency is being re-established. So you can't blame. The reason a lot of township spaza shops have been rented out to businesses that are owned by foreign nationals who are running in those spaces. Part of that problem is the disruptive forces that I have referred to. The absence of proper policy. The only policy we had was the apartheid policy. The bylaws in the townships of apartheid remain the same. This act we are putting forward is going to eliminate all this discrimination against township businesses and making it difficult for township people to register a business and operate, the police coming in always to harass them. All that will be a matter of history. So I'm saying to you, if you don't understand why township businesses choose to rent out the spaces where they could be running these businesses themselves, we support township, what we call township, the township property market. We do want people who own property in the townships, they must choose what they do with their property. They can rent out, yes, but you can't be absorbed into this neoliberal myth that the township people don't want to do business. So what do you do? And this, by the way, is not a phenomenon just in the townships throughout South Africa. I have traveled a lot. I have traveled to China. I've traveled to India. I've traveled to Europe. I've traveled to parts of the America. I've traveled to our continent. I have traveled a lot. I know that there are certain sectors of the economy and certain areas in which governments are able to take interest that only citizens of the country must operate. So this, I want to say again, you say it is against the Immigration Act and it's against the Constitution. Well, you are not a lawyer. We will meet. When we draft a law, we make sure that this law becomes compliant with the Constitution. The spirit of what we are saying, the spirit is not an anti-foreigner spirit. It's pro. I want to emphasize, we want to privilege and prioritize the development of local citizens in the townships who had done that before, who had run businesses, who are running businesses. Umama Zbuko, who you are talking about, who may be renting stuff. If you check Mama Zbuko, and I wish you were talking about the real Mama Zbuko, because you would find that even if she is renting a spaza shop to get 3,000 rand from a Somali who is or a Pakistani who's running there, you may find that Mama Zbuko is also doing other things on the side. There are other side of business to earn an income. So the surge and urge for people to improve their own incomes cannot be blunted by so-called generalization that it is xenophobic. No, you are doing injustice to xenophobia, as I say. You are just throwing your typical liberal, you yourself are absorbed in this liberal, you can't swim in this liberal wave there in the DA. You are absorbed, finished and clear. But you still want to pretend that supporting South Africans to grow as businesses, black and white, I want to say that. Establish local businesses, manufacture locally manufactured goods so that we can export these goods. You're saying that that's xenophobic. What kind of industrial policy would you have if that industrial policy doesn't emphasize local? So, and that's neoliberalism at its first, the end of local and being subsumed into the so-called global. It's neoliberalism at its extreme. Thank you so much for trying so hard to put forward a policy of neoliberalism that has long passed its sell-by date. Neoliberalism no longer makes sense. We need an active state. Thinking that the market will solve everything, it will not work. We need an active state that intervenes in various sectors of an economy. Yeah, we need local citizens that are active in entrepreneurship. For them to do that, they need industrial support. They need financing support. They need support in access to the market. That is the policy position of the African National Congress, which is the governing party in this province. Whether you like it or not, it is not a neoliberal party, and it is not a party that is xenophobic. To privilege and prioritize South Africans is not the same as hating and chasing away those who come from other continents. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. Secretary, I call on the Secretary to read the next order, the first order rather.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The first order is Social Development Portfolio Committee Focused Intervention Study Report arising from the budget vote for 2020-2021 financial year on the role of the Department of Social Development in supporting women-owned cooperatives. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Kekana.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Good morning to the Premier, to the members of the Executive, fellow honorable members. officials of GPL and Gauteng departments, as well as the members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to present the FIS report from the Portfolio Committee on Social Development. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I would like the House to take other parts of the report as read. And I, Refilwe Kekana, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development, hereby tables the committee's focused intervention study report on the budget vote 6 of the Department of Social Development for the 2020-21 financial year as follows. On the executive summary on women development, which is a sub-program under Program 5, Development and Research. The aim of this Program 5, Madam Speaker, is to provide sustainable development programs which facilitates empowerment of communities based on empirical research and demographic information. The allocation of this program in the 2020-21 financial year is 733,880,000, which is a decrease by 13,939,000 from the main budget of 774,801,000, which are allocated in the previous financial year. According to the department, the budget will grow to 805.1 million in 2022-23 financial year due to the department's continuous effort to increase the number of youth taking part in skills development programs, as well as the implementation of the welfare to work and women development programs, which encompass connecting women on child support grants to economic opportunities and empowerment programs. The committee was concerned about the targeted number of women on child support grant connected to economic opportunities, which remains the same at 5,200, and whether these economic opportunities are permanent or temporary. The committee was of the view that if the targeted number of women on child support grant who are linked to economic opportunities is still the same as in the previous financial year, which means the same people are benefiting from economic opportunities. Furthermore, the committee raised concerns during the deliberations on the 2019-20 financial year fourth quarter performance report of the department, which revealed that out of a target of 452 cooperatives linked to economic opportunities, only 23 were realized. The continued underspending on Program 5 and a decreased budget on Women Development Sub-Program were also the concerns of the committee. In its response to the committee's question, the department indicated that 5,200 was a combination of the same people empowered the previous years and the ones and new ones depending on the types of program they're involved in. For instance, women receiving child support grants who are members of the cooperatives might be the same if the cooperatives benefit from the supply chain management opportunities, whereas for skills development, a new cohort of women would be brought in. It is against the above backdrop that committee proposed to undertake an FIS to explore the kind of support provided by the Department of Social Development to the cooperatives, particularly those that are owned by women. The committee conducted a virtual dialogue with the following women-owned cooperatives, which is Rivoningo Projects from Protea Glen, Olega Primary Cooperative from Duduza, Agape Cooperative from Boxbeck, GM4 from Vanderbijl Park, Badudi Cooperative from Bophelong in Sidibe, Bafanele from Haramkua, Amazebra from Davidton, as well as Hunger No More from Rudiport. On the committee's observations, the committee has observed the following during its virtual dialogue with the cooperatives. That there is a perception by some of the cooperatives that there is corruption and nepotism in the Gauteng Department of Social Development in relation to the awarding of contracts to cooperatives. And this has led to other cooperatives waiting in the queue for years because they are unable to bribe officials. And that the cooperatives are of the view that those who are connected or closer to the departmental officials are in most cases receiving better treatment and their problems are addressed quicker. Almost all the cooperatives were not satisfied with the short-term contracts that they are receiving from the department, which are from 3 to 6 months. And there is a consensus from all the cooperatives that the department has, in some instances, enabled them to feed their families and expand their businesses. Some cooperatives did not receive any support or assistance to the cooperatives to deal with the economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. On the committee's concerns, the committee's concerns relates to the following: the short-term and unsustainable contracts that are offered to women-owned cooperatives by the department. And some cooperatives do not have a startup capital, and in most cases, they are given a go-ahead within 2 to 3 working days before the commencement of the contract. Also concerned on the late payments of the cooperatives and the creation of purchase orders without any explanation from those who oversee the processes. And also that there is no development agenda from the department to make sure that the cooperatives are working independently and not solely rely on the department. On recommendations, the committee recommends as follows: that the department should consider providing women-owned cooperatives with long-term contracts to ensure that their businesses are sustained. The report should be submitted by the 30th of November 2020. And that the department should process payments for cooperatives within the stipulated time frame, especially when the services have been rendered successfully. The report should be submitted by the 30th of November 2020, and the department should provide certain women-owned cooperatives with startup capital so as to drive the women empowerment and transformation agenda. The report should also be submitted by the 30th of November 2020. The department should provide the committee with a detailed plans on how it will assist all the cooperatives that have been affected by COVID-19 pandemic. The report should be submitted by the 30th of November 2020, and the department should have proper monitoring and evaluation mechanisms in place to ensure that the cooperatives are given a fair opportunity for business, and that those that are awarded contracts are not prejudiced by departmental officials. This report must also be submitted by the 30th of November 2020. The department should develop a detailed action plan that will focus on assisting women-owned cooperatives with a special focus on supporting, nurturing, and expanding their businesses so that they can empower and employ even more women in their organizations. The report should be submitted by the 30th of November 2020. And on acknowledgements, the Portfolio Committee on Social Development wishes to thank the women-owned cooperatives for availing themselves and participating in that virtual dialogue that we had. The committee also wishes to thank the department for providing information required by the committee that relates to this FIS. On adoption of the report, the Portfolio Committee on Social Development unanimously adopted the FIS oversight report on Gauteng Department of Social Development emanating from the budget vote for the 2020-21 financial year. And in accordance with Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 165, the committee hereby recommends that this report be adopted by the House, taking into consideration the concerns and recommendations made in this report. I would also like to express my appreciation to members of the committee, members Magagula, member Nseka and Governor, Adams, Bosch, Badenhorst, Mufama, member Dolile Doba for their commitment to the oversight process. I commend them for their diligence during these deliberations on the focused intervention study report. The committee would also like to thank the officials that support the committee, who are Mr. Ngala, Ms. Z. Panswambalo, Ms. Sakina Menueli, Siabonga Butelezi, El Mantata, John Moloi, Tin Zuke, Dean Gwenya, Dean Klebi, and Kay Kulu for their dedication in assisting the committee to achieve this mandate. I thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity to present to the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bikana. Is there a seconder?
Member Adams, Deputy Speaker. Member Adams seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Adams. I now put the questions. All those in favor say aye. All those who are not in favor say no.
Aye.
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 Okay. All those who are not in favor? Thank you very much. The report is adopted. Moving right along, colleagues, or rather honorable members, we've come to the close of business for the day. Then the next sitting is on a Tuesday, on the 3rd of November, 2020. Thank you very much. The House is adjourned. Bye-bye. Have a lovely day.
Bye. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
Speaker.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
Bye, madam.
Very good, Deputy Speaker.
Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye.
Bye,
Madam
Pasia.
Bye.
Speaker.